Coming back at you with a brand new video, and my face is a little red right now. I was out in the sun all day. It was the first meet of the season, the first Columbus Cars and Coffee meet, and I did get a little burnt. Comparison red white, absolutely ridiculous. And I have a little sunglass tan, so that's not good. But other than that, we're starting a new series today, the F1 Talk. I suggested it in a previous video, and there were several comments that said, yeah, go ahead, talk about what's going on with F1, and that's what I'm bringing you today. It was the first race of the season, clearly, the Australian Grand Prix, and yeah, I'm just here to talk about it. Let's get into the video. First off, coming in with this new F1 season 2017, we're getting a whole slew of regulation changes. It's been, I think, 3 years since they've had major regulation changes. And given, Mercedes has been like on top for 3 years, we might see some change of pace between the cars that are on top. And, they usually say, like, after major regulation changes, the team, the constructor that was usually on top of the game, usually it's not going to be the same the next coming season because, people really don't know what's going on. Everything is really in the dark between the different constructors because, for those first 3 years, they've had time to really get an insight on what the other guys are doing and their strategies and so forth. So new strategies are being, developed for this new season and so forth, and however long these regulation changes stay the same and until there are new regulation changes. So some of the regulation changes that have been changed are 25% wider cars, so fatter tires in the front and the back, aero changes here and there. I think the aerodynamicists, they're having less, leeway with what they can do with the cars, and the wings in the back, they are lowered a little bit, I think like 17% or something like that, but they're made wider, so the cars are going to be stickier to the ground, more downforce, I believe, but that also brings challenges to the drivers. So, the drivers have had a lot more strength training to deal with the cars. They're going to be harder to deal with, but the cars are going to be a lot more faster. And previous times, people have been saying, oh, the cars just keep getting slower every year with all these new regulation changes, compared to, like when Michael Schumacher was driving, like the cars were blistering fast and they've just been declining, so forth. So we're going to be seeing a lot faster cars, a lot faster times, and the drivers are going to have to be a lot more engaged than last year. So this is going to be a more exciting season. The cars are going to be closer together, and that's pretty much it. The cars look really good now. Just changes here and there. What are your opinions on how the cars look from this year to last year? Yeah. Yeah, they're lower to the ground. The tires are huge. Really interesting. But other than the regulation changes, let's recap what actually happened at the Australian Grand Prix 2017. Pretty interesting stuff. All right, so starting off the race before anything really happened, I think this was 20 minutes before the lights went out. Daniel Ricciardo, his car just broke down, a problem with the gearbox or something. They were doing their initial laps and he just broke down in sixth gear. Pretty depressing situation since, that is his hometown, Australia, but not a very fun time. So they got all the cars together after 20 minutes. They had been working on his car forever. He thought it was over, and they set off, the lights went out. Well, at first, they thought he would have a lot more time to get back in, racing thing. They thought that he might be able to continue the race when everyone started, because when they first lined up after their first initial lap, before the lights went out, a couple of the cars, I think they missed their marker or the position switched up or whatever, so had a false start, or I'm not really sure what the proper term is called, but they had to do another lap, and they gave Daniel Ricciardo a few more minutes to, figure out what was going on with the car, but he unfortunately did not make it at that point. So 2 laps later, he was actually able to get back on the track, but things didn't work out for him by the end of the race. I think middle of the race, his car broke down again. I think another issue with the gearbox, and he just had to retire altogether. So I'm just getting the whole Daniel Ricciardo situation out there. He took a big L, and very depressing because that is his hometown, and it hurts even more. Like any other track, it wouldn't be that big of a deal, but he was there to perform for his hometown, and things did not work out, unfortunately, for him. But rolling back to the start of the race, so Lewis Hamilton, he had a awesome start off the line. He was out front right away. Nothing major happened, but by turn 3, I believe, there was a little bit of an altercation between 2 cars. Nothing big deal. They just got one like pit maneuvered another car, and they ended up in the gravel, but they got on the track. But those cars later had to retire in the race also. I think it was Grosjean and another one, I really forget. Very small players in the field today. But moving on, throughout the whole race, Lewis Hamilton and Sebastian Vettel, huge tension for the first few laps, and then Lewis Hamilton, I think this was a major mistake. He thought his tires were failing him. Around lap 17, he decided to pit, and Sebastian Vettel kept going until like lap 23 or 24. He just kept going for a long time, where people thought that he needed to pit right away, like 2 laps after Lewis pitted, but he kept going, and that strategy seemed to work out for him. And after Lewis Hamilton got out of the pits, he ended up behind Max Verstappen, and Max Verstappen is a very, very hard person to pass. And Lewis Hamilton never really ended up getting around him until Max Verstappen actually had to go to the pits himself. And from there on, Vettel pitted, and he just got out in front of Lewis Hamilton, and that was pretty much it for Lewis that whole race. I really wanted Lewis to win this race, but Max Verstappen got in the way and really crushed that dream for me. And the end result. Sebastian Vettel, he ended up winning the race, but throughout the whole thing, we'll just go through some other things that happened, I guess. So given the fact that Lewis Hamilton was not able to pass Sebastian Vettel as he exited the pit, Toto Wolff, he got extremely mad. He was like punching his desk and everything. Not a very good time for the Mercedes paddock. High tensions. Tough first race for Mercedes. At this point, like I said, Lewis eventually got around Verstappen, but 6-second lead for Sebastian Vettel, and that was pretty much history from there. Sebastian kept gaining the lead. I think by the end of it, there was like a 9-second lead from Sebastian Vettel to Lewis Hamilton, and Bottas almost was about to pass Lewis Hamilton. There was like a 2-second battle, 2 seconds between Bottas and Lewis Hamilton, so a small battle right there. Never really led to anything. And further on, the rookie Lance Stroll, I believe he was 18. This kid, he won the Formula 3 World Championship, I believe, and now he's a rookie in the F1. He unfortunately had to retire this race also. I believe it was some sort of brake issue. A couple other drivers had brake issues too, but unfortunately for him, he had to retire out of his first official Formula 1 race. He was racing for Martini. Yeah. So, unfortunately for him, starting out, just got to go through the paces. Brake issue. Moving towards sort of the end of the race, there was a sort of a battle for 10th place. Fernando Alonso and his Honda. He surprisingly got up to the 10th position. He was about to get that one point, and then there's a situation that occurred. He was clipped from behind, and he was pushed back to 12th, and he had to pit, and his car just broke down. It's a Honda. If you touch those cars in the wrong way, they will break down, and you will not be able to finish the race. But the sad thing about this thing, there were 3 laps to go when this happened, and Fernando Alonso had to unfortunately retire, He didn't even get to finish the race. 3 laps to go. A Honda could have crossed the checkered flag, but unfortunately that did not occur. Those Hondas, so finicky. You touched those like he was tapped by another car, and he had to go in and pit, and the car just shut down. About it for the whole race. No crazy crashes, just a few, taps here and there between the drivers, and that's about it. Sebastian Vettel, he won his 43rd F1 race. So good for him. Ferrari starting off their 70th anniversary very well with a Formula One race. The bells and Maranello are going to be chiming, and they're going to get to bury their Italian flag. So good for Ferrari. I still wanted Mercedes, Lewis Hamilton to win. I could care less about Valtteri Bottas right now. I judge the people I support in F1 by their personality, and Lewis Hamilton right now has the best personality, and I'm, choosing to go for him. Verstappen, I still want to see where he takes his Formula One career because he is a very impressive driver. He's just aggressive on the track, and he kind of ruined it for Lewis Hamilton today, but that's just, how the way she goes. I'm not going to, say like, oh, it's his fault that Lewis didn't win because, you have to have the skill to get around that person, and Max Verstappen is a very, very hard driver to get around. So, that's the way the cookie crumbled. So Valtteri Bottas, he got third. I did not really expect anything from him, even though he is in a Mercedes. I expected him to fall back. I mean, he didn't. I think his last position he was in, he was almost dead last, so he wasn't doing anything special. So I'm pretty sure he's just up there because of the Mercedes car. I think he was in a Martini before, so that's the current situation. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, the Ferrari fans stormed the track before the cars were even, back in the paddocks. So that was a FIA regulation thing right there. People were freaking out because the people started storming the track before the cars even were off. So that's actually not safe at all. You know, Going back through the race, the big thing was a strategy issue with Lewis Hamilton. I mean, the whole race he was having issues with his tires. Like, he never felt that the tires had enough grip. And, people were thinking that he was going to pit for a second time, and that would have completely screwed his chances for getting on the podium at all. But he stuck with it. He was able to retain that position too. So, it's all right. Mercedes is still in the lead for Constructors' Championship. After the first race, they got 2 people on the podium, but Ferrari for that big W out there. I mean, it's the first race, lots of room to grow. China, Shanghai, that's in 2 weeks, so a lot of data to go over for Mercedes. Maybe they'll come back and win again. I mean, Lewis Hamilton, he had the pole position, but unfortunately, he got stuck behind Max Verstappen and was not able to catch up to Sebastian Vettel. The Ferrari was too fast, and props to Ferrari for actually competing now, and we're going to see some competition this year. Hopefully the Ferraris aren't just blistering fast and, they crush Mercedes like Mercedes crushed everyone else the past 3 years. So we're going to see a lot more competition. The cars are a lot faster, so that's absolutely exciting. The guys have already expressed their feelings towards the new cars, saying that they are a lot more exciting to drive, they're a lot more faster, it's a lot more of a challenge. So yeah, that's going to be a fun season, and this is the first race, and lots of stuff happened, lots of nail biting. And so yeah, so what do you guys think about this first Formula One race, the Australian Grand Prix? Comment below what your thoughts are, who you're rooting for this season. And yeah, that's gonna pretty much wrap it up for this video. So Sebastian Vettel run, great start to Ferrari's 70th anniversary. I'm still a big Lewis Hamilton supporter, and I really want to see where Max Verstappen takes his career. Sucks that Honda is still in the shitter, but hopefully they pick their game back up and the cars aren't so fragile. And yeah, are you rooting for any rookies like that Lance Lance Stroll, he unfortunately did not finish the race. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Who do you think is gonna be on top this year? Mercedes, Red Bull, Ferrari. Ferrari's already taken that first punch to Mercedes to knock them down a few notches. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say for today's race. These first few in Ohio, I have to say up to it's 3:25 right now in the morning, just recording this right after when the stuff is fresh. So yeah, that's pretty much for this video. I hope you like this, and I want to continue talking about Formula One on this channel. So yeah, like, share, comment, subscribe, and I will catch you in the next video. See you guys later.